There is a knowledge so powerful that it was hidden behind 7 seals. It was not hidden in the crypts of temples or in secret manuscripts, but in the most obvious place of all, in the body of every woman. The priestesses of ancient Egypt knew this. The keepers of the mysteries at Eleusis knew this. The Taoist mistresses of inner alchemy passed it down from generation to generation. They knew that the female body is not merely a biological shell. It is a living alchemical vessel, an athanor, in which the greatest transmutation occurs, the turning of chaos into cosmos, of darkness into light, of non-being into being. But this knowledge was dangerous, because a woman who owns her energy needs no external authority. She herself becomes the portal through which the force of creation descends. She becomes the temple, the priestess, and the goddess, all at once. And so this knowledge was systematically destroyed. Temples were burned. Priestesses were executed as witches. Sacred practices were declared sin. The very word woman became a synonym for weakness. But fire cannot be extinguished completely. It can smolder under the ashes for centuries, only to flare up again when the time comes. And that time is now. Today we will open the 7 forbidden gates of feminine alchemy. 7 secrets that will transform you from someone who survives into someone who creates reality by her very presence. Prepare yourself, because after what you are about to learn, you will not be the same. Gate 1. The Great Forgetting. To understand what was stolen, we must return to the beginning, to the very source. In the Hermetic teachings, the world is described through the principle of polarity. Everything that exists manifests through 2 poles, the active and the receptive, the outgoing and the receiving, the celestial and the earthly, yang and yin, sulfur and mercury, sun and moon, spirit and matter. Modern culture tells you these poles are unequal, that yang matters more than yin, that action is worth more than reception, that light is higher than darkness, that heaven rules over earth. But this is a lie. In alchemy, without mercury, sulfur is barren. Without water, fire transmutes nothing. Without earth, the seed of heaven has nowhere to take root. Woman is the embodied principle of yin. She is not half of a whole. She is the necessary condition for any manifestation to occur. Without her, nothing can cross from the invisible into the visible, from the potential into the actual, from spirit into matter. Have you ever wondered why, in the ancient cults, the highest secret was called the mystery, from the Greek mysterion, meaning that which is concealed, sealed inward, and why this mystery was always tied to the feminine principle? Demeter and Persephone at Eleusis, Isis in Egypt, Shakti in India, Inanna in Sumer, because woman is the keeper of the gates between worlds. Through her body, souls enter this world. Through her energy, ideas take form. Through her presence, chaos becomes order. This is a literal energetic principle, and such a force cannot be controlled from the outside. A woman who knows her nature needs no intermediaries. She needs no priest to speak with the divine, no kings to wield power, no philosophers to understand the structure of the world, because she herself is a living temple, a microcosm reflecting the macrocosm. And that is precisely why this knowledge was destroyed. Not all at once. Gradually, methodically, through centuries of one single idea being driven home. Woman is incomplete. Woman is the source of sin. Woman is the weaker vessel. Her body was declared unclean. Her cycles, a curse. Her intuition, dangerous. Her sexuality, sinful. Her need for solitude, strange. Her connection to the invisible, witchcraft. And the woman forgot. She forgot who she truly was. She began to imitate masculine energy because masculine energy had been declared the correct way. She began to act by the laws of yang while denying her yin. She began to shine outward when her nature is to shine inward. And what happened? A massive, global energetic short circuit. Millions of women live in chronic exhaustion. They cannot understand why, having everything, career, relationships, achievements, they feel empty. Why every morning they wake more tired than when they went to bed. Why their lives don't come together despite all their effort. The answer is simple and devastating at once. They are trying to be the sun, forgetting they are the moon. They are trying to be fire, not remembering they are water. But water cannot burn. The moon cannot shine like the sun. The earth cannot fly. Every force has its own laws. And the first step to reclaiming your power is to remember. Remember who you are, not by someone else's standards, not by social norms, but by cosmic design. You are embodied yin, living Mercury, sacred darkness from which light is born, the abyss that contains every possibility. And this is not weakness. This is the greatest force in the universe. Gate 2. The Athanor within in alchemy. There is a sacred vessel, the Athanor, the furnace in which the great work takes place, the turning of base matter into the philosopher's stone. And every woman has her own inner Athanor. It is located in the pelvic region, in the sacred space where the womb and ovaries reside, the energy center the Taoists call the lower Dantian, and the Hindus call Svadhisthana. These are not merely reproductive organs. This is an alchemical laboratory. Here, raw life force is converted into creative energy. Here, desire is transmuted into intention. Here, potential becomes reality. But in most women, this Athanor is cold, dark, forgotten. Why? Because fire can only burn in the Athanor under certain conditions, and the first of those is stillness, safety, relaxation. The alchemical treatises say it again and again. Haste is the enemy of the great work. You cannot accelerate transmutation by force. You cannot make lead become gold through violence. The process requires the right temperature, the right time, the right attention. And here is the paradox of the modern woman. She lives in a state of constant stress. Her body runs in fight or flight mode from morning until night. Do you know what happens physiologically when the body is in stress? The adrenals produce cortisol. This hormone tells the organism, danger, mobilize every resource for survival. And the first system that shuts down is the reproductive system, because from the body's perspective, when you are running from a saber-toothed tiger, having children is not a priority. But the modern woman is not running from a tiger. She is running from her to-do list, from the expectations of those around her, from her own inner critic. And this race never ends. Her adrenals work to the point of collapse. Her sexual system idles in standby. Her Athanor stays cold. And without fire in the Athanor, there is no alchemy, no transmutation, no feminine power, because feminine energy is not a mental concept. It is a living force generated in the body, specifically in the region of the pelvis, in this sacred cauldron. The Taoist masters knew this. They called this area the gate of life and death, and they had specific practices to awaken this center. Not abstract meditations, but concrete work with the body, the breath, the attention. The first practice returns the warmth to the Athanor. Lie on your back, knees bent, feet on the floor at hip width. Place your palms on your lower, belly below the navel. Simply feel that place beneath your hands. Breathe deeply, directing the breath into that area. Imagine that with each inhale, you are breathing in warmth, and it gathers beneath your palms, as though you are fanning embers that have been smoldering under the ashes. Do this for a minimum of 10 minutes every day, best in the morning right after waking, At first you simply feel physical warmth, then tingling, a light pulsation. This is the sign that the energy is beginning to move. But this is only the beginning. For the Athanor to truly come alive, you need to clear the blocks that obstruct the flow. And here we approach a secret that has been carefully hidden. In the pelvis of a woman, not only energy is stored, emotions are stored, traumas, fears, shame, everything you were ever told about your body, everything you ever heard about feminine sexuality, every prohibition placed upon your nature. It is all recorded there, in the muscles, in the fascia, in cellular memory. Your body is a source of sin. Menstruation is a curse. Sexual desire is shameful. To be a woman is to suffer. These programs work like energetic blockages. They literally interrupt the flow of power, and to reclaim that power, you must dissolve them physically. The second practice is alchemical pelvic movement. Staying in the same position on your back, knees bent, begin to move your pelvis slowly. Tilt it forward and back, very slowly, as if you are drawing a half circle in the air with your tailbone. On the inhale, the pelvis comes forward, the lower back presses into the floor. On the exhale, the pelvis tilts back, an arch appears in the lower back. And observe, where is it tight? Where does it hurt? Where is there resistance? Do not try to force through it. Just breathe into those places. Allow the tension to dissolve. Emotions may come up: sadness, anger, fear, shame. This is normal. What was locked inside for years, perhaps a lifetime, is finally moving out. Do not stop the process. Do not try to control it. Just breathe, move, let the body release. This is alchemy, the conversion of pain into power, the transmutation of trauma into wisdom, the turning of lead into gold. Do this practice for 10 to 15 minutes every morning, and within a month you will notice that something has shifted. The body feels more alive. There is more energy. You begin to feel things you haven't felt in years. The Athanor is warming up. The inner fire is rekindling. Gate 3. The principle of the black moon. In Hermeticism, there is the concept of the black moon. This is not an astrological term, it is an alchemical symbol. The moon in its dark phase, when it is completely hidden, when it cannot be seen in the sky. But in that moment, the moon does not disappear. It withdraws into itself. It gathers its force so it can begin to grow again. This is the principle of feminine energy, centripetal, movement inward. The sun always shines outward. It pours its light in every direction. This is the masculine principle, centrifugal, expansive, giving. The moon works differently. It reflects. It gathers. It accumulates. And at certain moments it disappears entirely in order to renew itself. Woman is the earthly moon. Her energy follows the same laws. But what happens in the modern world? Woman is told, be like the sun, shine constantly, give endlessly, be available around the clock, never disappear. And she tries. She shines outward. She gives to everyone around her, to her husband, her children, her parents, her boss, her friends, her colleagues. And gradually she goes dark, because she is trying to operate by the laws of the sun while having the nature of the moon. This is the secret the priestesses knew. A woman needs phases of darkness, periods of complete withdrawal, times when she is unavailable to the world because she is inside herself. This is not selfishness. It is physiological necessity. In the Taoist treatises, this is called entering the black yin. Black not as something negative, black as depth, as the abyss, as the inner space into which no one can enter but you yourself. The practice of the black moon is specific. At minimum, once a week, set aside time for complete solitude. Not I'm alone at home while I wash the dishes, but real solitude. When you close the door, switch off your phone. Tell everyone that you are not here. Close the curtains. Turn off the lights or leave only candles. You can use earplugs or noise-cancelling headphones. Create complete isolation from the outer world. And just be. No tasks. No to-do lists. No, I should be doing something productive. You can curl into a fetal position. You can sit with your knees drawn to your chest. You can simply lie on the floor. What matters is total darkness, total silence, total solitude, minimum 30 minutes, ideally an hour. At first, resistance. The mind will scream that this is a waste of time, that you have so many things to do, that you are being selfish. Ignore those voices. They are programs that do not want you to reclaim your power. Stay lying in the silence, and gradually something will begin to shift. Your breathing will slow, the tension will start to leave, and you will feel something strange. Peace, deep, fundamental peace. This is the moment when you touch your source, when you return to yourself, when the external noise dies away, and you hear your own inner voice. In this state, what the alchemists called nigredo takes place, the stage of blackening, the death of the old, the dissolution of everything that is not essential. But after nigredo always comes albedo, the stage of whitening, the dawn, the renewal. When you emerge from your black moon, you emerge renewed, reset. You have energy again. You have clarity again. You know again who you are and what you want. This is not mysticism. This is physiology. When you go into deep relaxation, into complete silence, your nervous system switches from sympathetic mode, stress, to parasympathetic mode, restoration. The hormonal system resets. The energy is restored. The psyche clears. And your sexual system activates. The athanor begins to work. Feminine energy begins to flow. It is especially critical to practice the black moon during menstruation. The Taoists always said the cycle is a woman's sacred time, the time of maximum withdrawal into the self. In all traditional cultures, this was once understood. Women on their cycle were freed from work. They retreated to a separate space. They spent that time in meditation and stillness, in connection with the unseen, because in that moment, the veil between the worlds is at its thinnest. Intuition is sharpened. Connection to the source is at its maximum. But modern culture says endure and work, take a pill and pretend nothing is happening. And the woman loses the most powerful days of her cycle, days when she could receive insight, days when she could cleanse, days when she could be restored on the deepest level. Reclaim this right, the right to the black moon, the right to darkness, the right to solitude. This is not a luxury, it is the law of your energy. And when you begin to honor this law, you will notice that burnout fades, exhaustion lifts, you stop aging so quickly. Because burnout in a woman equals aging, literally, on the cellular level. And regeneration, restoration, eternal youth. These are the result of the correct flow of feminine energy. Energy that feeds on darkness, on silence, on depth. The black moon is your source. Do not forget to return to it. Gate 4, the sacred gates of the womb. Now we touch on a knowledge so ancient and so concealed that even speaking of it was once dangerous. The knowledge of the womb as a mystical organ. In modern medicine, the womb is simply a reproductive organ, the place where a child is gestated. That is all. But in the temple mysteries of every ancient culture, the womb was understood quite differently. It was the portal, the gate between the worlds, the point through which the invisible becomes visible. In Egyptian texts, the womb was called the house of creation. In Taoism, the palace of the jade pearl. In Tantra, yoni, the sacred source. Why? Because the womb is the only place in the human body where new life is created, where two cells become a whole human being, where spirit enters matter. This is literal alchemy, the conversion of the invisible into the visible, the transmutation of the celestial into the earthly. And the priestesses knew this power does not only work for creating children. This power can be directed toward the creation of anything, a project, a relationship, abundance, healing, reality itself. In the tantric texts, there is the concept of ohas, the finest essence of creative energy, when sexual energy is not spent thoughtlessly but consciously transmuted. It becomes ohas, and ohas is what gives magnetism, charisma, the power of attraction. A person with high ohas literally radiates. Their presence changes the space around them. What they desire begins to materialize as if of itself. This is the description of a state in which creative energy flows correctly, and in a woman, the center of this energy is the womb. Even if the womb has been physically removed, the energy center remains, because this is not only a physical organ, it is an energetic vortex. But in most women, this center is dormant, blocked, operating at minimum capacity. Why? Traumas, shame, suppressed sexuality, abortions, surgeries, violence, physical or emotional, or simply life in a culture that taught that this area is the source of sin. All of these experiences settle in the womb and block its power. The practice of awakening the sacred gates requires care. This is not something you do once and forever. It is a gradual process, and it begins with something simple: establishing connection. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, place one hand on your heart, the other on your lower belly, on the area of the womb. Simply feel the connection between these two centers, heart and womb, love and creation, the upper cauldron and the lower cauldron. Breathe. Imagine that with each inhale, energy descends from the heart down into the womb, and with each exhale, it rises from the womb up to the heart. A circle forms, a circulation, an inner alchemical circulation, what the Taoists called the microcosmic orbit. Do this for 10 minutes each day, and speak to your womb. Yes, literally, mentally, or aloud. Forgive me for forgetting you. Forgive me for the shame I carried. Forgive me for not listening to you. I am ready to hear you now. I want to restore our connection. This may seem strange, but the womb is not just tissue. It is a living consciousness, an organ that has a direct connection to your intuition, to your deepest knowing. When you restore the connection to the womb, you restore the connection to your inner wisdom, to that part of you that knows without thinking, that feels truth before the mind begins to analyze. The second practice is activation through sound. In Tantra, there are bija mantras, seed sounds that activate specific energy centers. For the sacral center, the center of creation, that sound is Vam. Sit with a straight spine, hands on the area of the womb. Take a deep breath, and on the exhale, draw out the sound Va-Am, not from the throat, from the belly, from the depth. Feel how this sound vibrates in the area of the pelvis. Repeat 9 times, each day, ideally in the morning. This vibration literally massages the womb from within. It awakens the dormant energy. It dissolves the blockages. And the third practice, the most powerful, is dance. Not dance for an audience. Dance for yourself, in your own room, alone. Put on music with a rhythm. Close your eyes and let the pelvis move. Circles, figure 8s, waves, whatever your body wants. This is an ancient language, the language in which women communicated with their power for thousands of years, through belly dance in ancient Egypt, through ritual dances in the temples of Isis, through the shamanic movements of priestess healers. When the pelvis moves freely, energy flows freely, blocks dissolve, the power awakens. Do this for a minimum of 15 minutes, 3 times a week, and observe what begins to happen in your life. Synchronicities, attractions. What you desire begins to come more easily. People begin to respond to you differently, because when the sacred gates are open, you become a portal. The force of creation flows through you, and everything around you begins to change. Gate 5. Programming the dawn. The alchemists always knew that the beginning of the process determines its result. The first step of the great work is the most important. If the beginning is correct, the transmutation will occur. If not, all subsequent effort is wasted. And so it is with your day. Morning programs everything that follows. The way you begin the day is the way it will unfold. But here is a secret that the modern woman does not understand. Her morning should be the opposite of a man's. A man, in the morning, accelerates. Up, cold shower, coffee, action. His energy is centrifugal. It moves outward into the world, into conquest. A woman in the morning should slow down, not because she is weaker, but because her energy is centripetal. She must first gather herself within before she can interact with what is without. In the Hermetic texts, there is the formula solve et coagula, dissolve and coagulate. First dissolution, the return to chaos, to the primordial state, then coagulation, manifestation, crystallization. Morning for a woman is the solve, the dissolution, the hour when the boundary between sleep and waking is still soft, when you are in an alpha brainwave state, when you are maximally open, receptive, connected to the unseen. And in this moment, you are at your most vulnerable. Any energy that enters this space will program your day. This is why the most catastrophic mistake is grabbing your phone the moment you wake up. When you open your eyes and immediately look at a screen, you are literally letting foreign energy into your field. News, messages, social media, all of it other people's thoughts, other people's emotions, other people's problems. Your cauldron is empty. Your Athanor is cold. And the first thing you fill it with is other people's noise. And then you wonder why the day went into chaos. Why you feel broken though you've done nothing. Why you can't hear yourself. Because in the morning, you let the world in before you had gathered yourself. The alchemy of the dawn begins the moment you wake. Rule 1. The first 30 minutes after waking belong only to you. No phones, no conversations, no external stimuli. Open your eyes. Don't get up immediately. Lie there for a few minutes. Feel your body. Place your hands on your lower belly. Breathe deeply. With each inhale, imagine you are gathering the energy that's scattered during the night. With each exhale, you are grounding, becoming more solid, more present. Say to yourself, mentally or aloud, I am returning to my body. I am gathering my power. Today I listen to myself. Today I am in flow. These are not affirmations in the ordinary sense. These are alchemical formulas, words of power that tune your energy to a specific frequency. Rule 2. The slow rising. Do not leap out of bed. Sit, stretch, feel each muscle. Stand up slowly as if you are a sacred vessel filled with a precious liquid that must not be spilled. Because that is exactly what you are, a vessel. Inside you is the elixir of life. Your task is to preserve it, not to spill it. Rule 3. The ritual of water. The first thing that touches your body after sleep is water. Wash your face with warm water, slowly, consciously. Feel each touch, then drink a glass of water, not in one gulp, in small sips. Feel the water flowing down your throat, filling your stomach, moistening every cell. Water is the feminine element. Water is your ally. Every time you consciously interact with water, you strengthen your yin energy. Rule 4, awakening the Athanor. 10 to 15 minutes of the practices we have spoken of. Breathing into the womb, pelvic movement, or simply lying in silence with hands on the belly. This is the warming of the inner cauldron. Without this step, you walk into the day cold, empty, unprepared. Rule 5, only then the world. And only after these practices, only when you have gathered yourself, filled yourself, tuned yourself, only then do you open to the outer world. Check the phone, speak with family, begin tasks. But now you are interacting with the world from your center, from fullness, from power, not from emptiness, not from fragmentation, not from weakness. Feel the difference. The whole ritual takes 30 to 40 minutes. You will say you don't have the time. And here is the truth, spoken plainly. If you don't have 30 minutes in the morning for yourself, you have nothing at all, because for the entire rest of the day, you will be giving yourself to others, and by evening, all that will remain of you is an empty shell. 30 minutes in the morning is not a luxury. It is an investment in your state, in your energy, in your life. And when you begin to practice the alchemy of dawn daily, you will notice the days become different, smoother, lighter, as if everything begins to fall into place by itself, because you programmed the beginning correctly, and the process unfolds according to the right formula. Gate 6, the Temple of Silence. There is a secret known to every initiated woman, from the Vestals of Rome to the priestesses of Isis, from Taoist hermits to Christian mystics, the secret of sacred space. In every temple there is a holy of holies, a place no stranger enters, where the central relic is kept, where the most secret rites are performed, and every woman must have her own temple, material, physical, concrete, not metaphorical, not an inner temple, but a real place in the real world, where she can close herself off, restore herself, return to herself. In the Taoist texts, it is called the room of silence. In the alchemical treatises, the laboratory. In modern language, a place of power. But the essence is one and the same. It is your base, your point of grounding, your altar. Why is this so important? Because energy needs a container. You cannot simply accumulate power in a void. It needs form, structure, sacred space. When you have a physical place dedicated only to you and your practice, something happens. The place begins to resonate with your energy. It absorbs your intention. It becomes alive. In this place, it is easier to meditate, easier to relax, easier to hear yourself, because the space remembers. It holds your tuning, how to create your temple. Ideally, a separate room, but this is not required. It can be a corner of the bedroom. It can be a single mat that you roll out every morning. What matters is not the size. What matters is that this place is yours alone. No one else enters without your permission. No one else touches your things there. This is a sacred boundary. Arrange the space beautifully, not functionally, beautifully, so that simply looking at it, you feel, yes, this is mine. Maybe cushions, candles, incense, stones, crystals, images that resonate with you, flowers, fabrics. It doesn't matter what exactly. What matters is that each object carries meaning for you, that each thing was chosen consciously, with intention. This is not interior design. This is the building of an altar, the place where matter meets what is beyond matter. And come here every day, even if only for 15 minutes. Sit, light a candle, and simply be. You don't need to do anything. Just sit in your temple, in your silence, in your power. It may seem like a waste of time, but in fact, the deepest work is happening here. The work of restoration, the work of reset, the work of tuning. Imagine your energetic system as a musical instrument. Over the course of the day, it slips out of tune. The strings are too tight or too slack. The sound becomes false. And your temple is the place where you tune the instrument again, where you return yourself to the right resonance. The alchemists called this rectification, the straightening, the purification, the return to original clarity. Without regular rectification, you accumulate distortion, energetic static, foreign vibrations, and gradually you stop hearing yourself. And here is what matters most to understand. This is not selfishness. This is not shutting yourself in a room and ignoring everyone. This is responsibility, because a woman is responsible for state, not for action. A man is responsible for movement, for execution. A woman is responsible for the quality of energy that makes that movement possible. If a woman is not in her resource, everyone suffers. The husband gets an irritated, cold wife. The children get a nervous, exhausted mother. The job gets a burned out employee. But if a woman is in her resource, if her cauldron is full, if her tuning is right, everything around her begins to harmonize on its own. Not because she started doing more, but because she started being correctly. And this right being is impossible without the temple, without silence, without a place to which you regularly return. Build your temple today, right now, even if it is just a corner with a cushion, and protect it the way the ancient priestesses protected the Holy of Holies, the way the Vestals guarded the sacred fire, because this fire is your life force, and if it goes out, everything goes out. Gate 7, the Great Responsibility. We have come to the final gate, and here lies the knowledge that is the most important and the most difficult to accept, the knowledge of responsibility. In modern culture, the word responsibility is associated with heaviness, with obligation, with duty. But in the alchemical sense, responsibility is the ability to respond, the capacity to be the source of an answer, rather than the victim of circumstance. In Hermeticism, there is the principle, as above, so below. The macrocosm reflects the microcosm. The outer world is a projection of the inner world. This means your reality is not what happens to you. It is what happens through you. And a woman who owns her energy understands she is not a pawn in someone else's game. She is the alchemist of her own reality. But alchemy demands constant work. It is not a one-time act. It is a way of life. You cannot clean yourself once and forget. You cannot meditate once and wait for results. You cannot read this knowledge and do nothing, because knowledge without practice is dead. It is empty information that changes nothing. Practice is daily doing, small, simple, but regular. 10 minutes of breathing into the womb each morning, 15 minutes of pelvic movement 3 times a week, 30 minutes in the temple of silence once a week, 1 day of the black moon per cycle. This is not much, but it is constant. And here the objections begin. I don't have the time. I have children. I have work. I have a husband. I have obligations. And here is what I will say to you. And it will sound harsh, but it is the truth. You are not unique in your busyness. Every person lives a life. Every person has obligations. Every person is occupied. The difference is not in circumstance. The difference is in priority. The women who get what they want from life, fulfilling relationships, health, realization, abundance, do not have more time than you. They simply make their state the priority because they understand that if they are not in their resource, everything else is meaningless. No matter how much they do, there will be no result. No matter how hard they try, there will only be depletion. But when they are in their resource, when their athanor burns, when their energy flows, everything begins to work, not through effort, but through attraction. This does not mean that work disappears. It means that work becomes different, not a struggle, a flow. The alchemist said, nature does not make leaps. Transmutation happens gradually, step by step, day by day. You will not wake up tomorrow a different woman. But if you begin to practice today and do not stop, in a month you will notice the shift. In 3 months, the shift will be obvious to those around you. In a year, your life will be unrecognizable, but only if you do not stop. Only if you take responsibility, not in word, but in deed. And here is the key. Women's work is invisible. Men's work is visible. He built a house. Here is the result. He earned the money. Here is the result. He built the business. Here is the result. Women's work is work with state, with energy, with tuning, and it is not visible to the eye. No one will say to you, you breathed into your womb so beautifully today. But the results of this work appear in everything, in how you look, in how people treat you, in what comes into your life and what leaves it. A woman in her power is not the one who does the most. She is the one who creates the right field, and in that field, everything begins to come together. She does not control the world. She tunes herself, and the world responds to her tuning. This is real, alchemical magic, not the manipulation of the external, but the transformation of the internal. And when the internal is transformed, the external cannot help but change, because they are one, two sides of the same coin. So the question is not whether you have the time. The question is, are you ready to take responsibility for your life, for your state, for your energy? Because no one else will do it for you. No man will fill you. No amount of money will give you peace. No external circumstance will return your power to you. Only you. Only your practice. Only your responsibility. And this is not a weight. This is freedom, because when you understand that you are the source, you stop being the victim. 7 gates have been passed, 7 secrets revealed, the great forgetting, understanding what was stolen, the Athanor within, awakening the inner cauldron, the principle of the black moon, the right to darkness and solitude, the sacred gates of the womb, activating the portal of creation, programming the dawn, the alchemy of morning, the temple of silence, building sacred space, the great responsibility, the choice of the path. This is not theory, this is practical alchemy, concrete steps that work if you do them. But whether you do them or not is your choice. You can read this and forget. You can say, interesting, but I don't have the time, and go back to your old life, to your old exhaustion, to your old struggle. Or you can begin today with a single practice, with 10 minutes in the morning, with creating your corner in a room. And if you begin and do not stop, something remarkable will happen. In a month, you will notice there is more energy. You don't tire so easily. You hear yourself better. In 3 months, people will start to respond to you differently. Something in you has changed. They cannot explain what, but they feel it. In 6 months, your life begins to shift. What used to come through struggle now comes easily. What used to be unreachable suddenly becomes possible. In a year, you will look at your former self and not recognize her, as if she was a different woman, tired, lost, forgetful of herself. And now you are different. You remember. You know. You are in your power. This is not exaggeration. This is what happens when a woman returns to her source, to her energy, to her nature, because feminine energy is not an abstraction. It is the most real force in this world, the force that creates life, that weaves reality, that transforms everything around it. And this force is inside you, right now. It has not gone anywhere. It is only sleeping, waiting for you to wake it. The ancient priestesses knew this. They wielded this force. They were portals between the worlds, alchemists of reality, keepers of mystery. And this knowledge did not die. It was passed down from generation to generation, from teacher to student, through centuries of persecution and forgetting. And now it has reached you. What will you do with it? Leave it as interesting information in memory? Or take it, apply it, embody it, and become what you were meant to be from the beginning, the priestess of your own life, the alchemist of your own reality, a woman in her full, astonishing, world-transforming power. The choice is yours. The gates are open. The path is clear. The practices are given. Only one thing remains: to begin and not to stop. The fire in the Athanor is waiting. Light it.